Welcome to the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast, where we break down Bendis' iconic run on Ultimate Spider-Man, issues 1 through 160, in Earth 1610. I'm Zach, and joining me today is my crawlspace expert, John Opat.
Good morning.
How we doing, man?
Pretty good. Pretty good. How are you doing?
Doing good. I thought maybe I'd switch it up and do one that's a little true. I don't know if we've talked about...
I don't know if that's more true than anything else, but...
You did crawl spaces for a while, right?
I did basement waterproofing after door-to-door stuff down the road. And yes, it was crawl spaces also. And it was like the most disgusting job I've ever had in my entire life, mucking around through like moldy, spider-filled, wet crawl spaces.
I remembered that because it's been raining a lot, and we have like a closet where our water heater is that kind of connects to the crawl space underneath my house. And that closet has started stinking to high hell. And I'm
no. Oh, no.
I hope it's not anything like, it's not like water damage in the closet itself. I hope it's just like my crawl space stinks because it's wet. And I thought, who do I know that would know about that? Maybe John.
Well, even if it just stinks because it's wet, it's generally not a good thing.
Okay.
But I also don't know, Zach, that could all be propaganda that I was just told to sell waterproofing.
Oh, sure.
Maybe it's not that big of a deal.
You know just as little as the rest of us, huh?
Exactly.
That's funny. What's up, man?
Not much. Zach and I are both headband boys today.
Yeah, I know.
You got a very cool tie-dye on.
Yeah, it's Shyla's.
Nice.
I know that's exciting for the listeners that can't see us, but we are having fun looking at each other's headbands.
Yep. You got anything fun going on this weekend? Any big bets to make?
I don't bet. I don't have money for that. Neo was my bet, and that's going pretty well for me right now. That's true. Yeah, that's fun to check in on.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you got any big bets?
Yes, I do. Okay, so here they are, and we can track how they went. I've got Nebraska -10 here against Purdue in a couple hours, and then Illinois +18 against Penn State.
Yeah, what's the payout on that? Are you going to be a millionaire when these hit?
Just like even money on both of them, And no, I didn't bet $1 million on them, so I'm not going to be a millionaire.
Okie dokie then.
Anything fun this weekend?
I'm going to St. Elmo's after this. I know no one knows what that is, but that's like the famous steakhouse.
I bet a lot of people know I don't know. How famous is St. Elmo's?
I think it's Indianapolis famous.
It's like Michael Jordan's favorite restaurant.
Well, yeah, because... Wait, ever? Like,
I
in
don't
the
know.
world?
That could be just a total fabrication. There could be no realism to that comment.
When every famous person is in Indianapolis, they eat at St. Elmo's because where else would they eat?
Yeah. You guys going to get the... So here's the real question. Is it like... do you have a coupon or a gift card, or is it like an indie devour night or something? Surely you're not going and paying full price for St. Elmo's Steakhouse.
Unfortunately, I am. It's a birthday dinner.
Let's go. Nice.
Yeah.
What a guy.
Yeah. And I'm sure people can tell from my voice I'm a little sick right now. That festival that I went to last week really bit me in the ass, and I missed 2 days of work this week. So they have this shrimp cocktail sauce that is super famous.
It's clear you right out.
Yeah, I'm going to take a big bite of that and just be immediately healed.
Yeah. I bet if we tracked on all of our podcast episodes how many times we were like, oh, sorry, I'm a little sick. I bet it would be a lot. It'd be a high %.
People are listening to that. Someone probably binged these episodes at some point and thought, wow, these guys have immunity. Take some vitamins, my dude.
I work with 1 million kids, and your wife works with 1 million kids, so I don't know. I do feel like we both, it's not that,
And I'm constantly going to events that have like tens of thousands of people who traveled to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've got a fun wedding this weekend and a fun rehearsal dinner today.
Nice. A fun wedding, like as opposed to my wedding that you went to, as opposed to like some weddings that just suck?
As opposed to Zach's wedding, where I had to sneak out and buy liquor from the liquor store downstairs.
You also...
No, dude, that was 100% just a joke, by the way. Not about sneaking out and buying booze. I did do that.
You did
but
that.
It was
Many
still a
people did
very
that.
fun wedding.
Yeah. Before we started the pod, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm starting it with my friend John. The only way my family knew you was because you were, like, the only person who stayed to help, like, clean up chairs and stuff, and you definitely didn't have to. And they were like, oh, yeah, we like him.
I remember doing that, actually. Yep. Good times.
Yeah.
That was a fun one. Okay. Should we get into it? I know we're semi on a time crunch today because I do have to go to this rehearsal thing in a couple hours. So.
Yes, and these issues...
Listeners, you're not getting a 2-hour episode today. I'm sorry to say.
It's not happening. Nope,
Yeah.
We are going to restrain ourselves.
Oh, and I think last week was short also because Ben just forgot to write one of them.
Yeah, that's what happened. These ones are not short. These are pretty long ones, but they're good. I think it's all good stuff. So we'll send it over to our sponsor for the episode, St. Elmo's Steakhouse, and then get into it.
Every business says they're better, but the ones that earn and display the BBB seal back it up. It instantly identifies businesses that are committed to operating with integrity, honoring promises, and telling the truth. Makes you wonder why every business doesn't have it. So look for it, because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
All right, welcome back. Thank you, St. Elmo's Steakhouse. So...
Are they going to knock that off your bill?
Oh, they should.
$25?
Yeah, that'll make all the difference.
Yeah.
Okay, so this week we are reading kind of an in-between...
What are you going to get? Sorry.
I don't know. Do they have dry age?
Is it just you and Shyla? Is it Shyla's birthday?
And her 2 sisters.
Oh, okay, nice.
Because one of her sisters' birthday is like 2 weeks after Shyla. So we're just doing like a September birthdays dinner.
I would imagine that they do have something dry age there.
Okay.
I know one time I went to Harry and Izzy's, which is like the sister restaurant to St. Elmo's, and I got like a steak topped with like crab because it like sounded good. Not very good. I mean, I'm sure it was like delicious, but dude, just get it. Yeah, I should have just gone with a normal steak.
Topped crab is diabolical. I can imagine steak and crab, but when you're saying they're the same thing in the same bite, that's weird.
Yeah, I thought so too. Okay, now go on.
Okay, so this is a 2-issue miniseries kind of in the fallout of Ultimatum before we get back into regular Spider-Man stuff, because we don't even know what happened to Spider-Man. We got to figure out if this dude lived or died. So this is Ultimatum Spider-Man Requiem #1. Written by Brian Michael Bendis. Penciled by Stuart Immonen and Mark Bagley. Inked by Wade Von Grawbadger and Scott Hanna. Colored by Justin Ponzer, Pete Pantazis, Edgar Delgado, and lettered by Corey Petit. And
did you skip the famous Justin Ponzer?
I said Justin Ponzer.
Okay, phew. Okay.
I mean, we know at this point.
He's a
Justin
staple.
Ponzer's going to be in these comics. There's no way around it. We can't do this without Justin Ponzer.
Some people might even say Justin Ponzer. I hardly know her.
Yeah. Rocks on, more like rocks off.
Yeah.
So we open on the skies over Manhattan one day after the Ultimatum wave, and the Daily Bugle helicopter is circling the city looking at the destruction. And they see Iron Man fly by, and Ben Urich says, well, Tony Stark is still alive. Guess that's something. And they land on the roof of the Daily Bugle building, and we see a completely ruined Manhattan. And I thought, wow, this image is so poignant. It's so cool. It just shows you the destruction. But then I realized we get one of these in every single issue of Ultimatum too. So at this point, I just don't think it works as well. But
well,
You got to have it.
Yeah, and what I thought you were going to say is I thought you were going to give us a really in-depth spiel about how like the geography of the city is all messed up, because I'm sure if we went back through the Ultimatum ones, you can see specific events that we saw. Like the one that sticks out the most is the big tugboat in the middle of the street. And I'm sure that when we were shown that in Ultimatum, there was like a little thing in the corner that said, Lower West Side, or I don't know, right? I don't know what places are, but you do. And then we can also see the Bugle, which I'm sure you know where that is in relation to everything. So that's what I thought you were going to say. You're going to be like, none of this stuff should be close to each other. They all happen miles apart.
Well, now that you mention it, John, so we see the Empire State Building. Its spire has been melted. We see the Baxter Building. It's got kind of a chunk in the middle that looks wrecked. And we see the MetLife Building. And what we don't see is the Chrysler Building, which should be very, very close to the MetLife Building. So that's kind of curious.
Is MetLife Stadium anywhere around here?
That's in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Okay. That's the one I got thrown out of.
At the Super Bowl?
Yep.
I don't think we've told that story on the pod.
A story for another time on the pod. Maybe our next Super Bowl bonus episode.
That is a mythical teaser if I've ever heard one.
Yep.
Okay. And so they walk into the office to find that their generator is still keeping their power on, but the phones aren't working. And Jonah walks to the window where he saw Spider-Man dive into the water, and he remembers it. And it's kind of cool. We get another angle of that.
It's very cool. The shot of him standing at the window, and then the next shot of him remembering like that. Very cool. I like that a lot. Potentially, the only thing that would have been better is I think we should have just got it this exact same shot we had already seen. So it's really juxtaposed with him standing there at the window in like the exact same way,
You know what?
But
First of all,
maybe I'm just a what's it called? A nitpicker.
I don't think we should have gotten the same image. As good as it was, it took up like 2 full pages, and this is just not the same ratio.
I guess
so they would have had
true.
to crop it down. But also, I'm just a slut for like alternate angles. Like, show me the same thing happening multiple ways. That's kind of cool.
Okay, I love it.
Ben asks Jonah if he should go try and find his wife, and Jonah says no. They live on a brownstone that's only 4 stories tall. She's definitely drowned.
This is the issue I was waiting for with J Jonah Jameson, because we also get right after that picture, he's like walking past his framed papers, and they all say like Spider-Man Menace, and I just think he's got a lot of emotion being conveyed, right? He's got a lot of like embarrassment, and maybe embarrassment's not the right word.
He seems ashamed of himself.
Ashamed, Zach. You're so good. Yes.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. That actually was in my notes, and I just skipped right by it. So he said he's very confident that his wife is dead, and he just doesn't even want to go look for her body. And he also seems very confident that everyone in New York died. Like, he seems to think there was a 0% survival rate of this event. And you know what? He might be right, because they even commented on, like, the military's not there. There doesn't seem to be any rescue efforts. And Robbie comes in and says the website is still up and running, and they all decide that they have a responsibility as journalists to write about what they've just witnessed. And Robbie
I love a good journalist. This is like the Avengers getting together, Zach.
John,
Robbie, Ben, and J Jonah Jameson would be like, get your papers, get your pencils out.
We're putting together a team. Yeah, I was a media studies major in college. I was in the comm department. I love, journalism as like the fourth wing of government and whatever you want to call it.
That sounds like that's from like the West Wing or something.
Yeah, they very much glorify like, what journalism does for the public good in those classes and stuff. And I bought into all of it. In this particular situation, I think looking for your loved ones would be more important. But these guys disagree. They're professionals.
J Jonah Jameson's very confident his wife has passed away. And I think we even do get some like confirmation of that later on. Or at least when he is finally writing, he does write that, but maybe he just hasn't checked yet.
Yeah, the journalist who doesn't verify.
Yeah, it seems like, I make a quick trip over there. Make a quick trip to the house.
What's the harm in it?
I don't know. Maybe like stumbling across the deceased body of a loved one.
He's going to have to eventually.
Yeah.
I don't know. Seems like an avoidance tactic to me, but whatever. These guys are going to write.
Cut our ultimate event journalists some slack.
Okay. And Robbie tells Ben that Jonah had a change of heart on Spider-Man. And Ben's like, oh, good, it's about time. And he hands Jonah a flash drive. And he says this contains all of the stories that he's ever written that Jonah has killed. And most of them are true stories about Spider-Man. And Jonah puts it in his computer and clicks on one labeled Stark Terrorist Threat / Spider-Man. And we cut to months ago at Stark International Headquarters. And I said, this page, starting from this point on, it's in Mark Bagley's art style, so we know it's the past. John, were you just a little bit tickled and excited when you saw Mark Bagley's pencils, or did you not really notice?
I didn't really notice, but I like the way this looks. I mean, but I wouldn't have been like, oh, this is Bagley's art style.
Okay.
Sorry.
I saw Bagley's Mary Jane, and as much as I love Stuart Immone's art, I just got a little bit excited because this is like our friend that we spent 100-some issues with that we haven't seen in a little while. Even though it's the same person, she finally looks the way I'm used to.
I do like this art style more.
Yeah, I figured you did.
Yeah. Except for Tony Stark's stupid hair. He needs to put it back.
He doesn't look very...
He's got like a bowl cut, kind of.
Yeah, he doesn't look very businessman-like. Mary Jane walks into Tony Stark's office to interview him for the school paper. And they go through some cute and witty formalities when they meet, and it's kind of fun, but not really worth explaining. It just shows that it's two really clever minds meeting. And
yes, Mary Jane Watson and Tony Stark.
I mean, for like a 15-year-old non-genius character, like she is witty, they're having some banter.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but even later, the questions she's asking are pretty cutting high level questions that, Tony is kind of impressed with. So she is smart, give her props. She starts her interview and asks Tony why he's so public with his Iron Man persona. And I think that's a really cool question coming from her because we understand the subtext there is, well, I have this boyfriend who has to be super secret about being Spider-Man and it kind of ruins my life a lot. So how do you do it? And he says he wants people to know that he's not afraid. He thinks the world is ruled by fear and he wants that to stop. And she says, but you make your money by selling weapons. And Tony says, yeah, but I only sell them to the good guys.
Nice. That's good.
And she presses him on it and says,
the page after that, you turn the page. I was wondering if you were going to say something, right? He says, I only sell them to the good guys. And then Mary Jane says, why do you think we need weapons? And you turn the page and there's like this very heroic standing shot of Tony Stark, like looking out the window with like the big sun in the background. And he's like, to protect ourselves. And I don't know. how's this coming across to me? I can't tell how they're portraying Tony Stark in this scene.
I think he's like maybe a friendlier version of like Nick Fury. I think he has a similar worldview as Nick Fury in this world, which is like, you know, world scary, things bad, must have big gun to protect ourselves.
Well,
he kind of puts a friendlier spin on it.
And that's what a lot of the things he says, I like, they're good. They're good Tony Stark like statements. You know, I'm sure you're going to get into more of them because we're just getting to the page where they talk the most. But the way he's drawn is very like villainous looking, I think, in some of these like as you scan that page, do you kind of see what I'm saying? Like he looks like angry and he doesn't look like he's like the things he's saying it looks like he's like lashing out almost is how he's being drawn.
I think at this point they have fleshed out a characteristic of the Ultimate Universe that I don't think was ever intended, but ended up being really fascinating, which is all of the like adult heroes are very cynical. And then Spider-Man is like the force of optimism in this universe. And I think that's what's coming into conflict in this scene is like Mary Jane is kind of an extension of Peter's optimism and innocence. And she's talking to one of the avatars of this very cynical world.
Well, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a good convo.
It is a great conversation. This is like chef's kiss. This is a masterclass in what they're talking about is interesting, but what it means, the deeper meaning behind it, is also really fascinating about this universe and, you know, these characters and their history and the things that will come up in the future for them. There's just a lot of layers to it. It's a good, you know, like what does it mean to be a superhero? What is this genre about kind of conversation?
Yeah, and I guess like what I was most talking about is like, right, he's like, but you use weapons, and why do we need weapons? And he gets his heroic stance, and he's like, to protect ourselves. And then he actually says some like things that you'd classify as like more heroic, you know, about like defending people who need defending, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. You know, the people who want to scare us will never win. But he's not drawn heroically saying that stuff. He's drawn, like, angrily. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting, you know.
It also feels very Iraq War era.
Yeah.
In the sense that they're talking about, like, terrorism and fear and, you know, if we can't defend people, then we're going to avenge them. I think that also is a big influence on the Ultimate Universe because, like, how could it not be? You know, most of it existed in the 2000s.
Yeah.
So Tony says, yeah, he only sells the weapons to the good guys, and then she presses him on it, and she says it seems counterintuitive for a hero to make weapons, and he basically shares that it's his philosophy that nothing could ever make people live in peace. So he uses weapons, including his Iron Man suit, to protect and defend people. Then he adds, and as a last resort, avenge them. And their conversation
is this how Tony Stark, is this how he's always been portrayed in comics generally? Because this is a very similar personality that he has to the MCU. And I know a lot of the MCU is based on the Ultimate Universe.
That's it. I mean, yeah.
But is this how he has always been, kind of?
Well, first of all, I'm not the person to ask because I have never been a consistent Iron Man reader. I just have I don't find his stuff that interesting. And he appears in every other book, so like I don't feel the need to like look for him more. But I mean, no character is really always portrayed one way.
Okay.
That's the nature of ongoing stories with multiple writers. But I think more or less, yeah, this seems in character with Iron Man. And their conversation is interrupted by a swarm of armored goons with sci-fi guns bursting through the window. And this is pretty good. This is a heroic bit from him. Tony shields MJ with his body, and takes an energy blast to the chest, injuring him. And I find it so funny, John, that we always see these big sci-fi guns that are kind of vague, and people are always getting shot with them. And there's never any apparent physical damage.
They don't
it never
do anything.
kills anyone. They're just like stun guns. They just kind of hurt you on the inside. And a woman with green hair walks up to him and yells, "Hail Hydra." And this lady's never going to get a name in this issue, but this is Madam Hydra. She just runs Hydra.
Is this Constance something or other de La Fontaine? Or do you know who I'm talking about from the MC? Julia Louis-Dreyfus character?
No.
Okay, I thought maybe I had like heard that she was Madam Hydra sometimes, but maybe not. I could have that totally wrong.
I don't really know anything about that character because she hasn't crossed over with any of the Spider-Man I've read or like anything X-Men, so I don't have a reason to care about her.
Okay.
And she tells Tony to choose between his armor or his life. So Hydra wants the Iron Man armor.
This is Julia. Multiple people have gone by the name Madam Hydra, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character is one of those people.
Oh, okay.
But not in the MCU. I don't think she's called that.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Interesting.
We'll have to watch the Thunderbolts and find out.
I can't wait. Dude, are you caught up on Agatha All Along?
Yep. Are you?
No, that was a joke. I don't care.
Oh, well, it's not that bad. It's pretty good.
Okay.
I mean, it's fine. It's fun.
Yeah.
We're all having fun.
Okay. Okay, so meanwhile, at the Daily Bugle, Peter overhears Ben telling Jonah what's going on, and he sneaks away from his desk. And back at Stark Tower, Tony is stalling and trying to make sense of the situation. And he tells Madam Hydra he knows they're going to kill him either way, so he's inclined to not give up his armor. But he says if they let the girl leave, he's willing to talk. So that's pretty good. Like, he's already kind of given up on himself, but he wants to save Mary Jane because
these Hydra goons suck because they should have known that the second they show up and there's like a teenage girl in there with him, they have all the leverage in the world. Like that's the first thing they should have said. It was give us your suits or we're just gonna kill her, and then like boom, they've won.
Yeah.
Dumb Hydra goons.
It's almost like they can't empathize with like, a hero would have heroic intentions. They just think that he is like them and can be bought or sold or threatened with his own life into doing something. And just then Spider-Man swings through the broken window and starts kicking the shit out of some Hydra agents before grabbing Mary Jane and jumping back out the window.
So one thing that I liked when they're still in the newspaper scene, and Ben Urich's like, they just called blah blah blah. There's something going on at Stark Tower. We see Peter's face also listening, and then this is just like one panel I thought was good. J Jonah Jameson is like talking to Ben Urich, and he's like yelling to him, "You can't get there fast enough," and it's like put on a panel of Peter's seat at the Daily Bugle, which is already empty. He's like already gone. And I just like that he's like, he's still telling Ben like, you can't get there fast enough. And Peter's like already gone at the place.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say, they say something Stark Tower. And Peter goes, Mary Jane, because he's an attentive boyfriend and he knows that that's the day his
girlfriend would know that.
Has an interview with Tony Stark. I just thought that was so cute and sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so Peter just saved Mary Jane very easily. He sets her down on a roof and tells her to go home, and they hug, and he goes back to the tower. And he swings back in and starts wrecking Hydra agents again, and it looks very easy. I don't think any of them are, like, hitting him with their shots at all. And in the commotion, Tony escapes and returns in the Iron Man suit. and he yells, "Kid, ceiling!" And Peter jumps onto the ceiling, and Iron Man shoots a big blast that everyone standing on the ground gets hit with. And I thought that was just such a cool impromptu team up. Like, in a split second, he knows Spider-Man can hang on the ceiling and everyone else can't, and it doesn't matter if they hear me call this out to him because they can't do anything about it. And Peter hears it and immediately knows what's up. It's just a fun little bit of action between them.
Anytime Iron Man calls Spider-Man kid, I get like a wave of like, I don't know, good emotion.
Yeah. The MCU
it is
dopamine hit.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is kind of fun. I mean, that dynamic now obviously stands out way more because of those movies. At this point in time, I don't think it was as big of a thing.
But this is like where they got it, is what's kind of cool. It's like
clear that there's some magic there for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the bad guys are all beat, and Tony tells him that he appreciates the help and to call if he ever needs anything.
And Tony like sends his like sentry robots out, and he's like, he just says, "My sentry robots will now accept your surrender." And we do see like every Hydra person like raising their hand to surrender immediately.
Yeah,
Hydra's full of little something or others.
You know what? I gotta hand it to him. I love a henchman that knows when they've been beat.
Yeah.
There's something...
the Hydra people would change their allegiance in 1 second when they're like beat or when they feel like someone else is in charge.
There's something humanizing in like a realistic villain who's just in it for the paycheck and is not willing to go down with the ship. Okay, and so Tony says, "Hey, if you need anything, just let me know." And Peter says, "I could use free college tuition." And Tony says, "Seriously, kid, thanks." And as Peter swings away, he says under his breath, "I wasn't actually kidding." And John, I have a theory.
Yeah?
I think he ended up calling in that favor. Do you know what it was?
I'm trying to think now. What was it?
So if Fury...
I know this does give a little bit of like context to, because Tony Stark is usually like, he usually has Spider-Man's back, especially when like Nick Fury's being Nick Fury or like things are happening. So
or Carol Danvers, he stood up to him with Carol Danvers when they wanted to take Gwen home.
My cats are fighting, if anyone can hear. So this does kind of provide some backstory to it, which I liked.
Yeah. So
what's the favor?
When Gwen got put back into school and suddenly they had a letter of recommendation from Tony Stark.
Yeah.
I doubt Carol Danvers gave a enough to like put him on that.
That was just like a day before Ultimatum started.
Yeah, and I bet you that was just Peter saying, "Hey, this is kind of going to be hard getting her back into school. Do you think you could help out a little?" It wasn't shown, but I think that's what happened.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Back in the present, so we're back in Immoman's art style, which I love. I love the fact that we're being shown two different eras with the art of those eras. Jonah's kind of getting choked up. He's reading the end of Ben's story, and it ends with a press release from Tony Stark that thanks Spider-Man for his help. And it says, "Hero is not a word I use lightly, but Spider-Man defines that word in every way." And Jonah starts crying, and Ben pops his head through the door and tells Jonah, "Hey, that story you're writing about Spider-Man, make sure it's good. CNN says he's dead. You're writing his obituary."
Oh, poor J Jonah Jameson. He's feeling such remorse.
I know.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
This was a pretty good one. Like I said, I think this was this was sort of one of the issues I've been waiting on with J Jonah Jameson since we knew that he was gonna like do some character growing. And I thought it was good. You know, it was a good little Spider-Man and Iron Man team up. Also, that's not bad.
We love those.
We love those.
Yeah. I mean it's an emotional one with all the oh my God, he's dead, everyone's dead. And then the conversation between MJ and Tony Stark is very good. It's like, almost an examination of like the superhero genre and like what are these comics about on a higher level. And then I just loved the art shift. I mean, it's good to just see Bagley back in the mix again, but these are my two favorite ongoing artists of this series. There's only 3, so that's maybe
Who's the other one?
Big. We haven't met him yet. But I love Immoman's art, and then Bagley's art I also love, and it's so nostalgic for me. And this was just the perfect use of them switching off to show like the passage of time. So I gave this one a 9 out of 10 stories that Jonah has killed.
Yeah, there were a lot.
Also, another thing that just hit me is, I know, John, you've only read the first issue of the new Ultimate Spider-Man that Hickman is writing. Yep. But you remember how much of that issue was predicated on like the importance of good print journalism, and the paper needs to be honest.
Oh, that's right. Yep, with Uncle Ben. This
feels like that kind of beat also, with the 3 newsmen that are just so dedicated to their craft in the face of everything happening.
Yeah. I'll give this one an 8 out of 10 stories that Jonah has killed, which is still a very good score.
Yeah. Okay. You ready to take us into yours?
Yep. Okay. Ultimate Spider-Man Requiem #2. And this is the same creative team as the one that Zach just read. So we start with like a big page of all of the different news outlets, kind of just like recapping the events of Ultimatum, talking about like all the dead people and kind of showing the different heroes, and we don't really know where they are. And they talk about like Daredevil died, and they just kind of mention some of the people that are dying. And Zach, if I skip over anything in this issue that you feel is important, please feel free to jump in and, say something.
Will do.
Okay. I think J Jonah Jameson is like watching all that as he's sitting at his computer starting to write. And pretty much through this issue, we get his eulogy or obituary intercut with some of the stories that he's going to tell us about Spider-Man. So, he starts out, how much of this should I read? I don't really think I need to read a lot of it.
Oh, you wanted to read the story.
What?
You were like, when he was like, I have to write. You're like, I want to read the story.
I know. I thought it would kind of be good. I didn't think that it was that good. So there are some good parts, like this is probably my favorite. He's starting his story and he's like, my family's gone, everyone's dead. And all I can think about is Spider-Man. And it would be really funny, I thought, if he was like, in the next line, he's like, this is all Spider-Man's fault. I just know it. He did something. Just unable to like process or see anything clearly.
Yeah.
Because you would think people reading this who have read J Jonah Jameson for years and that's all they've ever read about it, that's like what they'd be expecting next.
Oh, I bet when they get the real story, his base is going to leave him. I mean, it'd be like if tomorrow Alex Jones was like, hey guys, you know what? I actually think vaccines are really cool and necessary.
Yeah.
I actually think government aid helps a lot of people.
I wonder. That would be.
We should rethink some of this stuff.
That'd be a fun experiment. So here's probably my favorite part. He says, "Before I was carried away from this hell, my last witness was of Spider-Man. I was witness to maybe his last acts of true heroism and selflessness. I saw with my own eyes this young man dive into the hellish waters that killed us to try with everything he had to save anyone he could." That's a good little bit. Okay. But for the most part, I'm just like I don't know. This really didn't hit me very emotionally, and that's very easy to do for me. So, but he's going to tell us some stories about Spider-Man, and the first one he talks about is, let's see, which one was it? He's at the high school. Peter and Mary Jane are at high school. They're in class.
And this is Bagley again.
Yep. There's a teacher leaning against his desk, looking cool.
And he says,
"This is me in 20 years."
At first, he kind of looked like Uncle Ben.
Yeah, he definitely does.
He says, "Okay, today we're talking about Chaucer."
Did you know who that is? I don't know who that is. I figured it was someone.
Yeah, I was an English major for a hot second. 15-year-olds would not and should not be learning about Chaucer.
Who's Chaucer?
It's like Old English. He was like hundreds of years before Shakespeare even. I mean, you read his stuff and it was, foundational for like all the kind of literature that we have today, but
I wonder if there is some
illegible.
I wonder if there's a thematic reason to say Chaucer there. Like, I wonder if his types of stories dealt with some sort of themes that we are dealing with here.
Dude,
I don't know. We'll never know.
When I was 15 in English classes, we were analyzing the plot of Simpsons episodes. When I was in college, I was reading Chaucer and not understanding it.
All right. Well, this teacher is pretty cool, so maybe he's got it.
Yeah.
And then right away, there's a drill and the entire school is evacuated. So as the school is getting evacuated, we can see that there are helicopters and explosions and tanks in the distance. And I thought this was kind of funny. The soldier, all of the kids rush out of the school, and the soldiers are immediately like, "Get off the streets, go back into the school. Who told you guys to come out here?" And as soon as I saw all the kids running out, when they're like, it comes over the PA system, they're like, "The neighborhood is in danger. Everyone leave the school right away." I was like, that would never happen. There'd be a lockdown. Like, 500 kids rushing out of a school into a dangerous place is not the type of thing that you generally want to have happen.
Yeah, because all it takes is something happening to one of those kids, and then any lawyer worth anything is
definitely
like, "Hey, we left them in the school's care, so how'd they get in this war zone? Help us figure this out."
So we then see on the next page a full drawing of the Incredible Hulk smashing, or like, I don't know. So he's what's causing all of this trouble. And Zach said right before we hopped on, he was like, "I thought you'd like this issue a lot. We get more Hulk nonsense in it." And that was my first thought when I saw this. I was like, why are we getting another Hulk thing? This has to be, Zach, around when the Incredible Hulk movie was coming out. This has to be. There's just no other explanation for why the Hulk has been so front and center in Ultimates and now in this. It's got to be a marketing thing.
It's confounding. I don't know.
I mean, we haven't seen him in 130 episodes or issues, and now he's in every single one front and center.
He's more of a main character at this point than Aunt May or Gwen Stacy.
And the stupid part about that is he's a main character that doesn't speak or have like a character. you know?
Also, I hate to do it to good buddy Justin Ponzer, but we got him. This Hulk is supposed to be gray.
This Hulk is very differently colored than the Hulks that we've seen. But we saw he was green. He was green before in like Ultimatum, right?
Every time he's been green, that's been a mistake. In the continuity of the Ultimate Universe, he's gray.
Well, obviously not.
Well, excuse me.
If we see one issue with him gray and 15 with him green, he's supposed to be green now, I think.
But that's not that he has been gray more than he's been green. Green is still the outlier.
Okay. Well, even coloring changes aside, this is a much more classic looking Hulk.
He's got the purple pants.
He's got the purple pants. Yep. And I like the way it looks. I mean, he looks better than stupid gray Hulk that we originally got.
It's a sick drawing. Good job, Bagley.
Good job. Now get him out of my comics. So the Hulk is kind of going on a rampage, and Peter drops off MJ on the roof, and he sprints back into action. That's something. See, J Jonah Jameson he almost said that in the part of his obituary that I read, but a key phrase that should go in every hero's obituary that will always get me is like, a hero is someone who runs towards the danger when everyone else runs away. That's a good line. Okay. I'm sure I've heard that in many movies. But
wow.
So scenes like this where like people are running away, and then, we get Spider-Man running towards all the explosions and the gunfire. It's good. It's a good one.
By that definition, John, I am a hero in the mosh pit.
That's true. I bet you are.
I run headfirst into whatever will hurt me.
So Spider-Man's going in, and there's like a million guns and tanks kind of pointing their guns towards the Hulk, and Peter kind of jumps down in front of him, and he's like, "Hey, stop pointing those guns at me." He doesn't know that the Hulk's right behind him. And then right in time, his Spidey sense goes off right when the Hulk is about to smash him. And Spider-Man's able to jump out of the way. The Hulk does his big Hulk smash, and all the helicopters start shooting him as he's like destroying everything. And I think Peter even gets flung away pretty far by the Hulk, if I'm like seeing that right. He just gets tossed like a football.
I'm realizing
and Mary Jane's just watching on as her boyfriend goes spiraling through the air.
I'm realizing now that was like almost a hallmark of the Bagley issues that Immonen doesn't do as much, is we got a lot of shots of Peter getting like thrown into the sky like Team Rocket or swinging from afar. We got a lot of very small Spider-Man like off in the distance. And we haven't seen that in a while, and I'm noticing that, that returning here.
So Peter goes crashing into a Starbucks knockoff coffee place, and, he gets up, he starts fighting, because that's what heroes do, Zach. So he goes back, he's punching up the Hulk a little bit, they're having a fight, and then eventually a big tank missile kind of blows both of them up and sends Spider-Man away again, and the Hulk grabs the tank and flings it into what I assume is the Brooklyn Bridge.
I think that's the Manhattan Bridge.
There you go.
The Brooklyn Bridge, John, has its two iconic brick Gothic towers that are unmistakable. This is
unmistakable.
Unmistakable. This is just a bunch of steel frames. This is just a
bridge.
Yeah. You can tell it's much more modern.
Yeah. I actually didn't think it was the Brooklyn Bridge, but that's the only bridge I know of in Brooklyn and New York. But I was like, this looks just like a normal bridge, so it's
Really,
probably
since they're
not
in
the Brooklyn
Queens,
Bridge.
it might be the Queensboro Bridge or something.
Queensboro Bridge, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
So now the bridge is getting destroyed, and there is a school bus on it, and it's about to go toppling over the bridge into the water, and Spider-Man's trying with all his might to hold it back. I love a good scene of Spider-Man just holding something with his webs. They're about to break. He's trying so hard.
When have we seen this before, John? Choose, Spider-Man. What did you love? Oh, suffer the little children.
Every now and again, a villain's gonna come around and make a crazy choice for you. When you're a hero, you gotta deal with villains, and this is what villains do, Spider-Man.
It's crazy that, like, less than 0.0001% of New York is bridges, and so many crazy Spider-Man stories happen on bridges. How are the bad guys always there?
Bridges, that's a really interesting statement that you've just made, because I bet you could go to a lot of superhero movies and they have scenes set on bridges, because it's so easy to build tension, right? They could go toppling over the bridge into the water, the whole bridge could collapse. So
Sure.
That's why they listen to this podcast, Zach. It's commentary like that.
Yeah.
Now I'll think of that every time we watch a movie and there's a bridge. Because just thinking about it, the Fantastic Four movie had a bridge scene for sure. Shazam has had bridge scenes for sure. I mean, like, all of the Captain Americas, I feel like they're always like, he's grabbing people from below a bridge. Spider-Man's always webbing cars up that are falling. Like, this is like...
Magneto did a bridge thing.
You literally have just commented on, I think, what is like a very, like a staple of comic book movies is having a scene on a bridge.
Well, and I think even more common than the movies is I've never played a superhero video game that didn't have a bridge level. And it's always like, oh no, there was a big hole right in the middle of the bridge and there's flames and you have to pass from one side to the other and get people across and stuff. I think it's even more of a video game trope too.
So Spider-Man's trying to save this bus, and I won't lie to you, it kind of looks like they're about to fall. And then the Hulk picks up the bus of children and carefully puts it back down onto the bridge. And he just kind of stands there for a minute, and Peter stands... Is it
just me, or is the bus driver Brian Michael Bendis?
The bus driver is a bald man.
That's good enough. I'll call it.
So, that guy just can't help but put himself in everything. So Peter kind of looks at the Hulk, who has sort of like stopped hulking out for a minute, and he looks at all the kids on the bus, and he's like, guys, now would be a good time to get off the bus. And as the kids start filing off the bus, the Hulk is just still there. And then kind of out of nowhere, he changes back into Bruce Banner. I had to read these couple of pages a couple times to really like see what was going on, because I guess I didn't realize that the Hulk was like helping at first, and then I was like, why has the Hulk, what happened? Is he narcoleptic? Why has he just stopped moving? And then, I don't know, it could be drawn maybe a teeny bit more clearly, but it's fine. Read it a couple times, What do you think?
I got hung up on something else, which is, so presumably these are the pants he was wearing as Bruce Banner, right? But he changes back into Bruce Banner form, and it's like he's I don't know, let's say 150-pound guy.
Is that what you got hung up on?
Oh,
the scientific nerd Bruce Banner
Bruce
is
Banner
ripped.
Works out, yeah, but let's say he's maybe 150 pounds, and these have got to be size 40 pants. I mean, he is holding them up with his hand, and it just looks comical. It's like he put on pants.
Is there a chance, Zach, that he's wearing spandex And when he hulked out, they stretched out to an absurd level, and they are now too big because they have stretched out. But when he first put them on,
but he stretched the fabric, but it just looks so ridiculous.
I actually didn't really even realize those were pants. I thought he was in a towel. So Bruce Banner and Spider-Man are talking, and he's like, dude, why do you hulk out? And he's like, I don't want to. They attack me. I don't want to be attacked. And when I get attacked, I turn into the Hulk. I can't help it. And then when they keep attacking me, I get angry. And the angrier I get, the more they attack me, and blah, 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 right? Something about this I just don't care about. And it's probably because we've had so much nonsense Hulk storylines. Because if this was the first issue where we saw Bruce Banner and the Hulk, this would hit harder. But we know in this universe, Bruce Banner is a guy.
Yeah.
And this characterization of him here does not match up with the characterization that we've gotten the whole time before.
It's like Bendis hasn't read issue 4 or whatever it was of Ultimates. I mean,
is that the one where yeah.
Pretty early on, Bruce Banner gets characterized as irredeemable.
Yeah. And we also have the stupid backstory now of him with Spider-Man's parents, which every time they bring the Hulk in and they don't go anywhere with that, it's just another reason why that was stupid to bring up in the first place.
I just want to pretend it didn't happen. I mean, we read it for posterity's sake, but moving forward, let's just say that story doesn't exist because it's so stupid.
Okay, that's fine. We can do that. So the army guys and their tanks, they've got their guns pointed on now Bruce Banner and Spider-Man. And Spider-Man jumps in front of Bruce Banner, and he tries to get all of the police officers or army people to calm down. And he's like, you guys saw he helped those kids. He's not a bad guy. And the guy's counting. He's like, I'm going to count to 3 if you don't step aside. And as Peter's trying to plead with him, the guy's counting. He's like 1, 2. And then he says 3 and he shoots, and Peter manages to move out of the way of the bullet, or maybe it just goes past him, and it hits Bruce Banner square in the chest. And as it's hitting him, he turns into the Hulk and the bullet bounces out. This is pretty cool. This is a well-drawn scene here.
It feels like the MCU where, he's like, I tried to put a bullet in my mouth and the Hulk spat it out.
It does. This is basically just MCU Hulk. In this issue is kind of what we're getting. This is not really the Ultimate Universe Hulk that we've been getting before.
Right.
So the Hulk hulks out, and he just immediately kind of jumps away off the bridge, kind of running away. So we don't really get much closure with this story. And then all the army people just leave Spider-Man sitting there on the bridge with all the destruction. And we go back to J Jonah Jameson's obituary, where he's talking about how that was one of the stories where he manipulated the truth, and he said Spider-Man and the Hulk did this, and Spider-Man was a hero. And maybe one of the reasons that this obituary isn't hitting me very hard is because this isn't really that heroic of a Spider-Man story, is it? I mean, we've seen him do so many more heroic things than he was with the Hulk when the Hulk saved all those kids.
Yeah, this is just an untold tale. It's just an opportunity to turn back the clock and tell a story.
That's what I'm saying. But why wouldn't they, if they're going to do an untold tale, you could
make
do
it better.
Anything. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. His finest hour, do something really...
His finest hour, he jumped in front of the Hulk and protected him.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, and also, I would have given anything for it not to be a Hulk story. Honestly, I would have taken him fighting the Enforcers over the Hulk.
Just that would have been awesome.
We haven't seen in a minute.
Yeah. So we keep kind of going on with J Jonah Jameson's obituary, and he's talking about he didn't really know why Spider-Man did what he did, and then we get some pages here. We get like maybe 5 or 6 pages in a row that are a pretty good like recap of the Ultimate Spider-Man series that we have seen so far. As J Jonah Jameson is writing his words about like how Spider-Man's a hero and he like stands up for what's right and he, helps people in need and all this stuff. We get these images of him with the lizard and man thing. Is that both of them?
Yeah. These are specifically reused splash pages from old issues. These are images. I think some of them are from Ultimate Team Up. Some of them are from the regular series. Some of them are from Ultimate 6. But it's just various art styles going back as far as like the early years of the Ultimate Universe all the way up till like recent stuff it shows like imminent art of him chasing the Beetle.
Yeah, so we see him with the lizard and man thing, and then we get a classic page of him fighting Doc Ock and him chasing the Beetle and standing with the Sinister Six. And it's kind of the point of J. Jonah Jameson's like obituary and why we're seeing all these is he's kind of talking about like how he's always willing to deal with like these like villains that keep popping up and if he wasn't there, like who would be dealing with them and kind of just things like that. And then we do get a very special cameo from Hearth Michelson.
Yeah. Where do you see that?
Are you looking at the Sinister Six page?
Oh my God!
It's the bones of Hearth Michelson.
I had totally forgotten about that. That is literally the panel that we decided. We were like, oh my God, we feel so bad about that poor guy that got roasted alive.
I don't think this is the panel. I think we may have had a full panel of his body, actually, and then this is like the next panel. But I don't know. I could be wrong.
And then the issue ends with, and because of our heroes, no one died.
That's so funny. Yeah, it did.
This hilarious. Is only a burnt skeleton.
And then the very last page after we see Spider-Man like with all of his villains, we see a page of him with all of the Ultimates. And J. Jonah Jameson says, and that in the end, because of these choices, this man-child will now stand among our greatest heroes. And that was kind of something I didn't like either. Why is he still like taking shots at him almost?
I think we take man-child as an insult. I think he meant like, oh, he's literally a child, but he was like,
this man-child.
This man of a child, yeah. Perhaps Jonah isn't actually a good writer. Maybe he should have left this to Ben.
Yeah. So then he talks about how, so he keeps going on in his obituary, and he's like, over the next couple days, we're going to hear about all the lives lost and all the destruction, and we should just all live our lives the way Spider-Man would want us to live our lives.
I like this. What he says exactly is, do as he has done. Our better days are before us. May all of you rise to the occasion. May all of you get to live the life Spider-Man did. And it's like a call to action, when they're going to need to look for survivors and, rebuild and all this stuff. It's like giving people something to aspire to, which is a bold take in that moment. But I like it as an end to a story about Spider-Man, to make it something bigger that's applicable to everyone who's reading it.
And it's and those words kind of come right before we do see these shots of like Iron Man and Captain America like helping to rebuild and like clear wreckage and just doing like street level helping out. So I really like that. And they're like clearing rubble, And I think, is that even the Hulk clearing that rubble, or is that just like a jacked up Cap?
I don't see the Hulk in any of these.
The shadowed picture?
Yeah, that's Captain America.
He's f***ing huge, dude.
Well, he's like the perfect human specimen.
That guy does not skip biceps or like back day at all. His proportions are wild.
And let me tell you, that is America's ass.
Yeah. So they're clearing rubble, and then we see Captain America pick up a rock, and we see the torso of Spider-Man underneath the rubble, and Cap digs through it, and he grabs Spider-Man, and as he and Iron Man are looking at him, we see Peter Parker's eyes barely blink open.
He's alive.
He's alive because of Captain America. No, just kidding. But
so, I mean, right up to the last minute, they were really teasing that he was one of the people lost in Ultimatum. I know I've said this before, but I really wonder until how late in the creative process did they know he was actually going to survive.
Yeah. So what do we think?
I liked it, except for the Hulk stuff. I know most of the issue was the Hulk stuff.
Not most of it, but the like flashback story we did get was like another Hulk story.
A solid chunk of it wasn't necessary,
Yeah.
but everything else was superb.
I'll give this one a 7 out of 10. I'll give this a 7 out of 10 big, heavy rocks that Captain America had to lift off of Spider-Man.
Our rating scales have never been better. I will give it a 9 out of 10 just because I feel like the highs of this issue.
Oh my gosh.
What'd you do?
Oh my gosh.
What?
For anyone listening, I just like randomly like freaked out and had to like get up. Dude, oh my gosh. I just got like the worst cramp in my like hamstring I've like ever gotten in my life. Jeez. That was out of nowhere.
He jumped up like his chair was on fire.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Oh, I've got to like be careful so it doesn't come back. That was insane. Sorry, listeners. I got to drink more water this morning.
For a second, I thought I had just blown your mind giving this a 9 out of 10.
I won't have it.
Like I was saying, before John's cramp destroyed him. I think the highs in this issue were higher than the highs in the last issue. The only thing that keeps it from really being a 10 and being like a super solidly, emotionally good, well-deserved issue is, again, the Hulk just didn't need to be in it. What would you call it? The A plot, the B plot, whatever that flashback was, didn't really add anything that we needed.
There's just so many better, more heroic Spider-Man stories that you could tell,
Of all the paths to go down, that was a weird one.
Yeah. Okay, I think I'll raise it to an 8. I shouldn't dock it just because I may have had unrealistic expectations about how good I wanted J Jonah Jameson's obituary to be, and I did feel kind of let down by that a little bit.
Yeah.
But luckily he'll get another chance.
I think maybe
Peter Parker's alive.
Yeah, I think maybe I liked it more because I tuned it out except for the very beginning and the very end, and I thought it had a strong start and a strong end.
It did. Well, it did. Yeah, it did. Those were the two highlights of it, for sure.
Which is what you want as a writer, honestly. Give a good hook and then a strong conclusion.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Do we have any other thoughts about it?
Nope.
Sweet.
Nope. Let's not meander. Let's get right into our next segment here? You got anything interesting going on? For something else?
Well, first I was going to say what we're doing next week.
Oh, okay, definitely.
Because even though it maybe looked like it could have, Ultimate Spider-Man does not end here. It relaunches, so it becomes Ultimate Comics Spider-Man #1. But because that's stupid, next week we will be reading Ultimate Spider-Man number 134 and 135, which is what those issues should be called.
Yep. Okay, cool.
All right. So
now do you have anything else? Obviously, we're going to talk about Agatha all along.
Oh, are we? Was
No,
that obvious?
I was just joking. But it is pretty good. I mean, it's fine, is what I should say.
It's pretty fine.
Pretty good is kind of, but it's pretty fine. Yeah.
That's about what I was hoping it would be, is pretty fine.
Yeah.
Good for other people who watch it.
Exactly. I'm seeing a lot of really positive stuff about it from people who are like watching it and are into it. So I'm happy for them.
I don't want to yuck anyone else's yum.
No, that's such a great phrase.
Yeah. I don't have any. I mean, I could talk about the arsoned car if we think.
Oh my
that's
god!
funny.
Yeah, really quickly. I do want you to tell everyone about that.
That music festival that I went to last weekend that got me sick. It was funny. So I parked. It's just in a park, okay, in a residential neighborhood. There's not like any parking lots or garages around. So parking is an issue every year. And I pulled up like 2 blocks from the festival entrance. And there was just a guy reserving street parking with a plastic chair. And he said it was $20. And I mean, I knew what was up. This guy didn't have a vest. He didn't work for the festival. He had no right parking me. But
this guy's awesome.
He said that he was going to be watching the cars all day and making sure they didn't get towed or anything. And everyone else was also running illegal parking lots, and they were charging $40. So I gave this guy $20 and I parked there. And I even came back like 2 hours later to check on my car. And he's like, man, you don't have to worry about a thing. I told you, I'm taking care of it. And he like dapped me up. And I'm like, all right, that's my buddy. That's
awesome.
Kind of shady buddy who's watching my car for me. And I came back at the end of the night and he was gone. And I was like, yeah, okay. I kind of figured he wasn't actually going to stay and watch the car, but whatever. My car's here. It's fine. It was only $20. I don't care. I get on Reddit like the next day and see someone posted the exact same block that I was parked on. They were like, yeah, I tried to park on a free street parking spot, and some guy tried to extort me for $20, and I told him no. And he said, I'm going to set your car on fire. And they came back 2 hours later, and their car had been set on fire and arson.
So dude.
And it was my buddy.
That is insane. And it was your buddy?
It was, I mean, yeah.
Okay. I thought you meant the guy whose car was set on fire was your buddy. No, your buddy is the arsonist.
Yeah, the guy I had paid $20 to not set my car on fire.
Dude, that's so... Imagine if you were coming on this pod instead, and you were like, some guy told me he was going to burn my car down if I didn't pay him $20. And I was like... No, dude, it's free parking. And sure enough, I came back to my car and it was in flames.
I didn't see the car, but based off of where I know I parked on that block and where they said they were parked, they must have been like 3 or 4 cars behind me.
That's really funny. I feel really badly for the guy that that happened to his car. But,
yeah, it's not funny, but you can't help but laugh.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm glad that you shared that.
Yeah.
Zach learned about that like 20 minutes after we recorded last week.
I know.
And I was like, oh my God, you got to save it.
I'm so sorry, you guys. We made like the most boring episode ever. I was so sleep deprived, and that little nugget would have saved the episode.
Oh, well. Okay, you got anything else?
I don't. What do you got?
I don't think I have anything. I still need to watch The Penguin. I've heard it's good. And, we are kind of about to hit a little upswing here for Marvel movies, I think, in the next like months or so, right? Because Captain America's coming out, and then the Thunderbolts just released a trailer,
Did you see
I think there's one more, isn't it? Fantastic Four is like kind of, I don't know.
That's next year.
We could be going towards a
renaissance of MCU.
Renaissance, exactly.
Dude, I saw the funniest thing about Anthony Mackie, which is apparently he pitched to Marvel execs dozens of times that there should be a love plot between his character and Black Widow.
That's really funny.
He wanted to kiss Scarlett Johansson.
That's really funny. Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you're
maybe bring her in a flashback or something.
Yeah, he's like, hey, is it too late? I know she's dead, but how can we do this?
Maybe let's have a flashback about Falcon imagining kissing Black Widow. We don't have to actually say they were together. Maybe I'm just imagining it.
Yeah, we'll just see where it goes. It could be a really good movie.
Nope, I don't have anything else. That's it.
Okay. Do we have any good listener comments that we want to read?
Yes, we do. I actually haven't checked in a while, so I'm gonna give us 2 comments here. Okay.
2 comments?
Yep. Let's see. I'm opening them. Okay. So this one was from Matthew Stiles, and he said, "Dear Zach and John, just listened to this week's episode, and it was fantastic. You guys have been on a roll lately." Zach said, right when I read this, Zach goes, "Oh, he must have wrote this before last week's episode." And I was like, it was from 12 days ago. Yeah. I think it would be cool for a bonus episode to read one of the DC books that John has read and Zach hasn't, sort of flip the first read dynamic around. Also, as a longtime listener, John saying The Winter Soldier is better than both Spider-Verse movies might be the worst take either of you have had on the show, which is saying a lot because I've had some bad takes on this show.
Not me. I'm right about everything.
Not you. Regardless, you guys are absolutely fantastic, and I'm looking forward to your guys' plans post 160. Thanks for taking the time to read this, and thanks for what you guys do on the pod. Great. Keep up the great work. Thanks a lot, Matthew.
Thank you.
That's really nice to read.
I'd be down to read some DC stuff.
Yeah, dude. There's okay. We'll pick out some of the good, like, famous Batman graphic novels.
God knows I have them all on my bookshelf. I've just never opened them.
Do you?
I have. Yeah, I have. What do I have? I have Nightfall and
all 3 of them.
And...
like all 3 of the Nightfall.
I don't know.
Like runs.
It was Shyla's.
Okay. There were like 3 things. It was like, I don't know. That was because that's the Bane storyline.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have Hush, and I have.
Ooh, I want to read Hush. I've never read that one, but that's one that I want to read.
I just got the Court of Owls. That's the one I've read the most of.
Because Hush is the one where, like, someone else is, like, pretending to be Bruce Wayne, right?
I think so. That seemed like right. I started it on a vacation like 5 years ago, and my bookmark has not moved since then.
Well, you know, I got that V for Vendetta comic, and I probably like slammed 200 pages in the first like 4 or 5 days that I got it, and it has sat there like not finished for the longest time ever.
Yeah, that's how I read too.
Probably this, we got November 5th coming up, so I probably will finish it around then. Okay, I got one more comment to read here. This one is from Nicholas Avramidis. Okay. I'm sure that's not right, but it says, "Hey guys, life got pretty crazy, so I fell behind on the episodes. I just finished the Deadpool 3 episode, and it was great. I'm loving how this is just the ultimate all-in-one podcast." Now, I wonder if that was ultimate, you know? Surely Nicholas did that on purpose.
Let's give him some credit. That
definitely,
was
yeah. The ultimate all-in-one podcast now, where I can get Spider-Man, The Boys, politics, sports, and world events. I'll never need to watch the news again. And then at the end, Zach pulls out and one more thing. I've been watching this new show. Ever heard of Evangelion? It felt like an MCU after credits scene with Nick Fury. Evangelion is one of my other favorite things besides Ultimate Spider-Man. So I hope you guys keep us updated with your thoughts on the show and the EOE movie. Thanks, and keep up the great work, Nicholas. Thanks, Nicholas.
That's everything we've ever wanted to hear. That people care about the stupid stuff we talk about.
That's true.
Spider-Man.
Except, I am sort of starting to see a pattern here where all of our comments are like, John's take on this was terrible. And also, Zach is crushing it lately.
Yes. Yeah, God willing, I will force this man to watch Evangelion so we can talk about it on the pod.
What is it on? Where would
Netflix.
I find it for free? Okay.
This is how easy it is. It's 26 episodes and then one movie.
Okay. I could probably find some time to put a couple on and see how I like it.
The only thing is,
I'll try to do that this week. Nicholas has convinced me.
Sorry,
Zach, you can tell me every week to watch this show and I'll never watch it, but Nicholas said it's good.
Yeah, Nicholas's word is gospel.
Yep.
The thing is, I got my cousin to watch it, and he's like, yeah, it's kind of good. I have it in the background when I'm like doing dishes and folding laundry and stuff, and I'm like, oh, he's going to hate it then. You kind of have to like give it attention.
Okay. Is that all we've got? You mind if we skip trivia today?
Yeah, no trivia.
Sorry, listeners, no trivia today. We'll do bonus questions next week.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
I have a jam of the week.
Oh, definitely. Yes. Okay.
Do you have one?
Yeah, I sort of do. I don't know how popular it's going to be, but it's the one I've been listening to a lot this week. So,
dude, mine are never popular. So go ahead.
Okay. So this is the third time I will be saying the same band, but it's a song from Bomb the Music Industry.
Let's go.
And it's called Future 86. Have you ever heard that?
I'm sure I have. I don't know all the song names.
It is definitely the other ones I think from them that I've said are like I Don't Love You Anymore and then Slumlord, which are I'd say more your like upbeat, ska dancing. This is not like that, but man, something about it just like really it really just gets me. It didn't the first couple times I listened to it because it's their third song on Spotify. So if I ever put them on Spotify, it always goes, I Don't Love You Anymore, Slumlord, and then this one starts playing afterwards. And I don't know. I think it's just like a really like cathartic song. It's like him singing about kind of like losing a relationship because he's trying to make this like music thing work, even though he knows the music is like never really going to work in the sense that like it's going to be like a career that he, so it's a I don't know. It's a beautiful song, I think.
Yeah. I know the one you're talking about now. They're ska, but they have a lot of range. And one thing I would recommend
I'm upset that they aren't. You told me that they aren't still together. They'd be a really fun one to go and see, I think.
Well, I'll advise you to check out Jeff Rosenstock's solo stuff because it is also really good.
He's the singer of that. I think he's the one who like wrote that song. I was like reading about this song last night because I was like, man, I'm really like digging this song and the lyrics to it and everything.
He's still active, and I think his solo career is more successful than Bomb the Music Industry ever was, and he still tours and stuff.
Oh, well, if he comes to Indy, I don't know. That you might get me out of the house.
You just missed it, dude.
Man. That stinks.
Yeah. But next time, I'll let you know.
Okay. Did you go?
I didn't. I thought about it, but no one wanted to go with me.
Oh, that would have been fun. Okay, next time.
We'll check
what's your jam of the week?
It's Fight Milk by Riley. So that song is
Fight
named
Milk?
after...
Is that like it's an Always Sunny thing?
It's named after my favorite Always Sunny bit. And then this band Riley is just, I am convinced they're the hardest working band in like touring because they're so small. They're playing like people's houses and pubs and stuff. And they're from Texas. And I am constantly seeing them in the Midwest. Like, these guys just are true road dogs, and they've been at it for so long. I can remember walking by them one year at Warped Tour on a stage. They were playing to like 12 people, and they sounded so weird, and I was like, what's this? This is kind of interesting. And I think I might be seeing them in Michigan in December, and I just really appreciate how hard they work, and then Fight Milk is a good song with a great name. So
That is.
I was listening
Okay.
to that this week.
A couple of good jams. And I know Lawrence Loves Family also wrote in and had a good idea about potentially, like, it'd be cool to play the jam of the week as the outro music, but I'm sure that'd be copyrighted in some way. That probably just isn't a possibility, although that would be a good idea.
Yeah, that would be a great way to get all of our episodes taken down, unfortunately.
Yeah, sorry, this is a monetized podcast, you know. We can't mess with the money, obviously.
Yeah,
Okay, is that it?
I think that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much to Ian Hickey for the music and Alyssa Seaman for our artwork. And thank you all for listening and leaving us a review or a comment. You can find us the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast on Spotify or Apple Music or anywhere else you find podcasts. And you can come and chat with us and leave us a comment on Instagram at First Read Podcast. Send us an email at firstreadspidey@gmail.com or on YouTube, First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast. See you next week where we are back into Ultimate Spider-Man.
Number 1, baby.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya.